Hello, Mike Doe at Melco, part of the applications team, and want to go over troubleshooting thread breaks with you. It's going to be a very complex or very easy thing to do. And what I mean by that is it could be multiple different things. So let's just get into it. What I like to do is as I start to get into having a couple thread breaks, more than usual thread breaks, trying to troubleshoot it, I usually try to start at the top and work my way down. It just gives me a kind of a starting and an ending, kind of like reading a book or driving. You always have a beginning and an end. So what I like to do is I like to look at the cone of thread, take and pull a little bit of the thread off, make sure that it's not bound underneath the cone, make sure that there's not some kind of snag or knot that's holding it from releasing from the cone itself. And then I'll follow that down. So we'll stick with color number 3 here. Now let me move it over. And I'm going to go ahead and take the hoop off for a minute. And so what we'll do, the next point is I'll go ahead and take and kind of just pull some thread through. And what I'm doing is as I'm pulling that through, I'm trying to see if I feel any kind of resistance coming from it. As I'm doing that, I'm also watching the path of the thread. I'm making sure that it's going through the proper places as need be. A lot of times you'll find that you had a thread break, you rethreaded it, you missed one of the holes, or you forgot to put it back through the take-up lever. That's a majority of the time that's what's happening. So make sure that your path is right, and then as you come down, if that all feels good, the next thing that I would check, make sure you put your pinch roller back down, make sure the thread is under there. The next thing that I would check is I would go in and you can feel the tip of the needle. If you're not sure how long the needle has been on there and you continue to get thread breaks, you may want to just replace that needle. Make sure that you use your magnet to make sure that the orientation of the needle is correct. If the needle is fairly new, you may just try to check the orientation before you replace it. But that also can be a big reason that the needle starts to get a burr on it, or the eye starts to get a little burr on it. Just a side note, on average, thread will travel through the eye of the needle before it's laid down as a stitch on material approximately 30 times. That's on average. So that thread, if there's any kind of little resistance or burr inside the eye, can really cause a thread break to happen very quickly. If we're sewing at 1,000 to 1,100 stitches a minute on the Bravo, depending on what package you have, that very easily could be your problem. The next thing that I'm going to do is, depending on what I'm sewing, I'm going to check my presser foot. So let me move the needle case back over so we can look at that a little bit better. And so just make sure that, like that was one click up. If I was sewing something really thin like this backing, I may want it all the way down. Once again, if that material is flagging, that could very easily be causing your thread breaks. The next thing that I would do is I would check my bobbin and my bobbin case, making sure that I don't have a lot of buildup underneath this tongue. May not be the proper name of it, but that's what I call it. And just making sure that the bobbin is in correctly and it's not in backwards, and refer to your operator's manual. I would refer you to your operator's manual to check that, and then also check your tension. Now, a lot of times in the past we've done the yo-yo check. If you're really into making sure that everything is right, Melco has started carrying the bobbin tension gauge. And so with that allows us to take and put this on, and we'll do this in another video of how to use this, but the bobbin tension gauge may be a really good way to get this more accurate than the yo-yo, because I may hit my wrist a little bit harder than you do, or you may be the opposite. This is just a more accurate tool to use. So check that out at Melco. And once you're sure that that's okay, if you're continuing to have problems, my next suggestion would be take a look at your hoop. Make sure that the material is not loose inside the hoop. If it's loose inside the hoop, you're going to get flagging, and flagging can cause a lot of issues to happen. So make sure that the material in your hoop is nice and tight. You don't have to over tighten it or stretch the material. Just make sure that it's almost like a drum. You can get just a little bit of a tone from it when you tap it. And then if it continues to happen, the next step that I would do is I would go back to a design that you've sewn in the past without any issues. It may be something in the design, especially if it's a new design, there may be something in there that's causing that thread break. In that case, go back to one. If you don't have one, you can always use One Day under C Designs on your computer. When we installed the OS software, those designs got loaded, and although that's a very old design, it's very tried and true, and we know that that design sews very well. From there, if you continue to have problems, my next suggestion would be is to go to melco-service.com, click on the FAQ, and type in thread breaks under the troubleshooting. And that'll take you to a document that'll walk you through steps. And really through all that, I'm pretty sure that you'll get to the bottom of it. And of course, you can always call in and talk to our service group if need be.
Purchase your new machine today by visiting SewingMachinesPlus.com or by visiting one of our retail locations.